normal. Remember to like us on YouTube and follow us on Instagram and now Twitch TV. I'm Jenny Nicasio along with Sean Kelly, and Jason's not with us. Jason Iampietro is under the weather, but we're here. Happy Thursday, everyone. We have a great show tonight. Okie dokie.
Happy Thursday to you.
Hey, Sean, did you know
Yes.
that for thousands of years, there is a device satellite that's been orbiting our planet?
Nope.
Okay. Well,
Not until recently.
Well, we do. Hopefully, you did the research. Okay.
I did some, yes.
Good, but some people, like myself, believe it's from an alien origin, and I believe not only did these aliens visit Earth, but they put a mysterious object in our orbit. Okay. Now, they use it to communicate. Well, this is what I believe. They use it to communicate with each other. I know that sounds crazy, but researchers have been calling it the Black Knight. And in 1954, the New York Times ran an article saying that Dr. Lincoln LaPaz had discovered 2 satellites, orbiting Earth. And the reason was, one was because there was no satellites, because in 1954, no one had yet, shot one up. So whatever LaPaz saw, it was enough to worry the Pentagon, for a while. So people were worried that the Russians beat us to space. I don't know about that, but LaPaz later recanted the whole story and said that he never said that. He never did that. But that's where we're here. That's why we're here today. And so many people believe it's from an alien origin. This is interesting because Tesla, he said it in 1899, he made a controversial discovery. He said that electrical signals were being sent to him by the aliens. And he theorized it was sent from Mars. We talked about Mars last week. But there's a lot of conspiracy theorists that believe that Tesla was intercepting the messages from the Black Knight, and which is, they believe, they call it the Black Knight satellite. And in supposedly in 1927, a Norwegian engineer named, I'm probably going to screw up names because I always do, Josing Hells, I might be totally blowing that up, but he was listening to radio signals, and when he noticed some of them had a strange echo, and we're going to talk about this, but this is where we're going to stop right now. We're going to leave it right here before we delve deeper into this conversation, and we're going to leave it up to debate with our special guest, Chris Cogswell. I hope I'm not screwing that one up either. He is the host and creator of Mad Scientists. It's a podcast. It's a weekly show on history and philosophy. And I always screw this word up. So, Chris, if you can chime in right here. Pseudoscience, is how do you say that?
Pseudoscience. Figure that one out.
Pseudoscience. I even asked my daughter-in-law, how do you pronounce that? Because I'm terrible with pronunciations. But you received, this is amazing, you received your bachelor's degree from the University of New Hampshire in both chemical engineering and philosophy. And you have a PhD, I don't know where you found the time to do all this, PhD in chemical engineering from Northeastern University. Wow.
Correct.
Chris,
yep.
Welcome to Chasing Prophecy. That's amazing. So that's where we're at now. And I want you to tell me if I have a little bit of that right.
That is my background 100%. Also for kind of the purposes of this discussion here today and sort of why I'm involved in this subject at all, I'm also the chair of the scientific advisory board for SkyHub.
Wow.
Which is an effort to visualize and capture data of objects floating in the sky or orbit around us, including satellites. So
that is amazing.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty exciting.
That is. So tell us a little bit about that, and tell us, are we on the right track when it comes to this Black Knight? I know a lot of people said that they kind of debunked it, but I still think it's alien origin.
So I personally am more on the skeptical side of this one, I will say. I think probably it is. So it's interesting. Our history of understanding objects in space and kind of detecting signals from space, even like say Tesla, in the 1800s when he was detecting signals from space. Today, we think that probably what he was detecting were actually signals coming from objects, just from normal space objects, things like other stars or other solar events that can occur that would generate these sorts of waves that then we can actually capture here on Earth. So personally, I think that if there was something in satellite orbit around the Earth in any way, we would probably have a generally good idea of it. Although again, people will say different things, so who knows? I don't know.
John, what do you think about that?
I don't know. Seriously, I think let's just call NASA and ask them about it. I hear they like to tell things, and personally, I was reading that article, and I have a hard time not believing in it, Jen. I don't.
Why don't you believe in it, Sean? Because I believe it's been floating forever. I mean, why don't you believe in it?
Well, I looked at the picture and I saw what was. It didn't look like nothing out of the ordinary.
It's a black satellite. Why do you say it's nothing out of the ordinary?
It's weird looking satellite, man.
Okay,
object.
What's that?
I was going to say, so the object that they think is the satellite, the one that you normally see if you Google Black Knight satellite.
Yeah.
They actually believe that it's probably a thermal blanket that came loose from the International Space Station.
Yeah, I saw that.
That the arm was moving, and then a thermal blanket that was connecting that, it moved away with some other debris. It gets lost to space junk, and then it's out there, right? It's actually interesting. We've left behind a tremendous amount of junk in our upper atmosphere that we don't realize. Like, there's all kinds of stuff floating around up there, from space missions and rocket attempts and all kinds of things that we would, normally us on the ground would never consider that it's like that, right? That there's kind of space we've been using almost as a dumping ground for stuff we don't want anymore, right? But if you think about it, like when a rocket goes up into space, when those thrusters push away, or when you need to get rid of weight to get out into the upper atmosphere, that stuff has to go someplace, and often it'll get stuck in orbit and then just kind of sit there. So, it's a little harder to, this always makes me think of a question, which is, if we were going to study another planet and we thought that there was an intelligent species there that we didn't want to be, we didn't want to make ourselves known to, how would we study those people, or how would we study those beings? I'm not sure we would use a satellite in orbit either in that same way, because it's easy to detect, right? It's relatively simple to detect that.
Okay, but what I'm thinking is they've seen this since 1954, and then Tesla even said that he saw it. So if it was we didn't have satellites, we didn't have rockets in space then.
Well, so what they claim that we were seeing was just the detection of a signal of an object in orbit, right? So it's not a visual sighting of something.
Okay, it was a signal, but
it's like a radio transmission. It's like a radio signal, right? But there are the blurry, like the fuzzy background picture you get on those old TVs, like if you remember, like I remember when I was a kid, you turn the TV in between channels and you get that fuzzy stuff, right?
Yeah,
that's signal coming from the Big Bang. Still, there's signal out there all over the place, right? So it's actually not too out of the ordinary to think that we've been collecting signals from space for a very, very long time, since we've been able to detect radio waves, really. So the idea that they would have gotten random signals they couldn't tell, and then it comes back and they don't find anything, that's not all that surprising to me. Now, what kind of is surprising, I think, would be that given all of the different methods out there to study the sky today, that there would be no other evidence of this, including amateur astronomers and projects like, say, Sky Hub, for example, right? So, yeah, I don't know. This one I've always been kind of puzzled by. I'm always puzzled by the Black Knight satellite.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sean. No, go.
Well, here's what I'm thinking about that. As I was listening to you talk, sir. if we have the capability, why don't we just go out there and snatch it up and bring it back to Earth and find out what it is?
It costs a tremendous amount of money to go out into space, right? I can't remember the heuristic off the top of my head, but it's something like, every pound of extra space, every pound of extra weight on a rocket, if you're going off to, say, the moon, add something like another $10,000, right? The weight and the cost to get out into space is so great that we've hardly decided to pay to go out to the moon again or to Mars. So going out there to grab something that we think probably could just be a piece of debris, that's not going to happen, right? It's really a matter of scale. If Elon Musk is successful and we're all traveling in rockets in 10 years, maybe then we'll the three of us will go up there and we'll check it out ourselves.
Yeah, let's go, buddy.
But until then, right? It's just prohibitively costly. We can't get out there,
Wow. See,
Well, Chris, so you totally think it's not anything. It's just junk. I mean, it doesn't have any.
I don't know if it's junk, right? I don't know what it is, but I suspect that it is. I suspect that it is probably not. I suspect it's probably not an extraterrestrial satellite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sean, you totally don't. But Sean, I have a problem.
yes.
You are a paranormal investigator. You're so
Right.
open to the fact that there are ghosts, but you don't
Yes.
seem to believe that there are extraterrestrials. And I don't know. I just can't fathom why. Would you explain that
Well,
to me?
No, and that's a good question. Because ever since before we started this show almost a year ago, I didn't believe in ETs and aliens. And I'm slowly but surely, accepting the fact that, hey, maybe there is. So to be honest with you, I've been working with ghosts for 30 years and only a year with aliens. We'll see what happens. Give me a chance. Give me a chance.
Okay. Chris, your background, you also were a MUFON director, right?
Yep.
Did you ever come across anything like an object in the sky that resembled any Black Knight or anything?
Yeah. So for me, I think the best evidence for me always comes from people who are experiencers, right? People who claim to have actually had experiences with these things.
Mm-hmm.
So we on our show actually had an interview with a gentleman who we called Kyle. It's not his real name, who lives kind of in the middle of the United States. And Kyle had a number of very compelling and concerning experiences as a kid, all the way up into adulthood, that seemed to be corroborated by and also similarly experienced by members of his family, that he could not explain and came on the show and talked to us about. Those were probably the most compelling for us, right? So some of the things, for example, were he would wake up in the morning out in the woods by his house. And his doors would be locked, and he had no explanation for that. And it happened so often, his parents thought that he was just sneaking out and, sleepwalking or something. It happened so often that, again, according to Kyle, they put a lock on the door, right? They put a lock on his window and on his door so that he couldn't leave. And then kind of over time, he kept having experiences like this, really had no explanation for them, thought maybe, again, sleepwalking or some other kind of sleep apnea or something like that. And finally had a kind of a realization reading about UFOs and things, and asked his parents, and they both responded very strangely, I guess. His mother almost aggressively or defensively, I guess. Those aren't real. There's nothing to this, yeah, whatever. And then his father sort of saying, well, I don't know, I've had those kind of weird experiences too, right? And that's something we see commonly. And I think even from someone who is as skeptical as I am, and from the perspective that I come to these subjects from, I don't think you can really, I don't really think that you can simply ignore those sorts of cases or those sorts of testimony.
No,
Right.
absolutely not.
And they happen so regularly too. That's the thing we don't really realize is there are 10,000 reports of UFO sightings a year to move on only, right? 10,000 a year. And probably more than that actually happen that don't ever get reported because people don't know where to report them or they don't want to be, ridiculed or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a lot of reasons why they don't report it. They don't want to feel crazy. Yeah. I mean, I was a field investigator, and the only one that stood out for me was there was a metal, like a sheet metal recycling place. Mm-hmm. And they said that something happened in the middle of the night, that their lights went off and then they could hear something, but there was this like thickness in the air and a smell. And they went outside and they saw these lights. I mean, really low lights. I mean, they were just right above where they have their business. It was their house is connected to the business, and they were sick. They got literally physically ill. And when I went up there to talk to the gal, the whole family, it wasn't just one person, but which I kind of think too it's metal. Okay. Mm-hmm. Maybe that this thing in the sky needed something from the recycling, something. Why would they want metal? I don't know why they would want it, but that was one of the real things that I felt that was 100% alien, sort of like because they didn't know what it was, but they could see the lights. They even drew pictures of it. And then it was hovering over their house. And it wasn't just one person saw it, they all saw it. Which is interesting. Bizarre. And I remember that. And
the thing, I think the other part of this too that we often discount is the fact that, so kind of have there's kind of two options, right? And I personally have never met, and maybe I just hang out in the wrong crowds. Sean will have to go hang out someplace. But I've personally never met someone who really thinks they had a ghostly experience, right? However, I know a lot of people who've experienced or think they've experienced kind of UFO events.
Okay.
And the sheer number of those people and the similarity in kind of what they report, and also I think too, that in itself is evidence, right? If there's a lot of people reporting something, if there's a lot of people making these claims, then that is on its own interesting and worthy of analysis and discussion, right? It's sort of like, if one person tells you they saw, I don't know, one person tells you they saw something in the sky, you kind of ignore it, like, oh, maybe they were mistaken or whatever. If 1,000 people tell you, or a larger proportion of the population, then suddenly you have something a little bit more interesting to think about. Right. So that's to me kind of the bigger question there, the bigger issue.
And you know what? I accept that, but in my business with the ghost, people don't want to tell me that they're a ghost. People are afraid to tell me that they're haunted in a house, or they're afraid to tell me or tell their people, their family members and stuff like that there's something going on. A lot of my clients that I go to, they get banned by their family. Their family thinks they're nuts, and so yes, it is very much so. And so I can understand to where people could think aliens and ETs. Don't get me wrong. I respect what you all believe in. I really do. It's just things that I have to learn and learn more. So, and I'm willing to learn about it, because to me, when I hear you two talk, it's fascinating. It really is. And I appreciate this.
Well,
absolutely.
We'll have to get more on that. But before we draw deeper into the topic, I want to pause and mention my good friend, to her paranormal series, Ascenders, author C.L. Gaber. Scientists agree that the human mind doesn't fully form until the age of 25. It begs the question, what would happen if you were to die young? Where would you go? Where did they go? Walker Callahan went to sleep in her own bed last night. She woke up somewhere in the middle of an adventure of after lifetime. No rules, no fears, no limits. Why? You can't die twice. Ascenders High School for the recently departed has been called an epic and best paranormal, guys, you got to get this, best paranormal book series ever. Original, unputdownable, available on Amazon. So make sure you check out the link on our chasingprophecy.com and check out link, click it and go check it out. It's also available on Audible. And there's a link also to get a free membership. Okay. So Chris, I want to ask you something about this Sky Hub. Is that what it's called?
Absolutely.
Now tell me, is this a what exactly is it? I mean, is it a like an online app, or is this a real place that they're building?
Yeah, so a Sky Hub actually is it's a camera unit that it's okay. Essentially what a Sky Hub is, it is a computer system with a camera and other sensors attached to it that are pretty cheap to produce, so about $1,000 for one unit. They're easy to build at home, so anyone with, a screwdriver set and the know-how can build one of these. And the idea is that people will build them, connect them to their computers, and then if you want to, you can have them constantly scanning the skies for things flying above your home.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So
So
where do you get this?
So we have instructions for these units on our website. And actually we were just
want one.
well, yeah, we just had a huge influx of new people because we did an interview with space.com, which was really cool. And so loads of people are kind of coming into the chat and helping. But the thing that makes this different, say, than other systems, because there have been other attempts like this in the past where you just have a camera outside, it takes video of the sky, whatever, is our system connects to software that we are building, which will only record when an object triggers the camera, right? Which that's not really that interesting software. That's pretty easy to do. But also utilize machine learning to differentiate between, say, this is just a bird, or this is an airplane, or this is something interesting.
That is
right?
so cool.
So, and the way we can do that, right? You can imagine like an airplane, right? If you imagine what an airplane looks like when it's flying through the sky, it's just kind of going in a straight path usually, right? And airplanes have limits to how fast they can fly and what kind of angles they can do and turn at and everything else. Whereas, say, a bird has different flight characteristics. So simply from the video itself, we can come up with essentially statistical buckets, quote unquote, to put these objects into and classify them. And then by teaching or giving this system enough information over time, we'll end up with very good sets of data to say, based on these, 15 parameters, this is what a bird looks like. This 15 parameters, this is what a plane looks like. And at the end of it, if we've trained our models correctly, what we hope we will be left with are a really good set of unknowns.
That is so cool.
Video of object that we can't determine with something simple, right?
That is so cool. Let me ask you, so how reminds me like SETI, you know how they can, SETI, you can sort of like that thing. I used to have that on my computer, took up so much stuff on my computer. It just ate it up. It just ate it up.
Home. Yeah, that was there's a computer in my mom's basement in Staten Island, New York that probably still has SETI at home, eating up all of the memory.
Just sucked everything up. But it was so cool because I'd be like, wait, like, okay, am I going to see an alien tonight? Come on, when am I going to see an alien? My brother got me involved. My brother, my late brother, he was all into that stuff, and we're like sitting down. Okay, when's the alien going to connect with us? Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah. Okay. So I have my laptop next to me, helping me out here, and I went to this skyhub.org. Okay. And to the articles, and the third one down, the subtle art of hacking UFOs. How the hell are you going to do that?
Yeah, how are you going to hack the UFOs, Chris?
So that one was actually an article posted, not written by us. We are just featured in that article. But so that one, essentially, it's talking to a bunch of other kind of scientific efforts that have really started up since since the Nimitz encounter became public knowledge, right? So the Nimitz encounter was the famous, the Tic Tac video that came out. And, I think people can have differences of opinion about what that video shows. I know, again, I am more on the skeptical side of all of this stuff, but regardless, I don't think it's possible to claim anymore that this isn't something worth or at least this isn't something that we're starting to think about more as a scientific or technological question, right? I mean, we have the capabilities in our our backyards now. We could all go out and buy drones. And so we could go fly drones above, military encampments or whatever we want. So the fact that this technology is becoming more and more ubiquitous and common means that, the ability to monitor what's actually in the skies and know what these objects might be is very important. It's increasingly important as time goes on. So, it's been kind of a cool it's a good time to be kind of into this subject. Absolutely. And also be into science, right? Because there's a lot of cool stuff happening. And you always have kind of the normal background of UFO stuff going on, right? That stuff always happens, but at the same time, this really is I think a period where there's a lot of really good work going on. And, it's a time where too, you can leverage all of the people like at MUFON, right? You have all these people who are going out and investigating things and they're spending their own money. And they're not getting anything for it, right? MUFON doesn't give them anything back.
Right.
It's just kind of people spending their money on their own stuff.
Yeah.
And
that's the same way in paranormal.
Yeah.
Sure. Right.
Money.
And so if you were able to, if there were better tools, if there were better things available, I think that you could really get people, all these people who are interested in this stuff, who want to do this kind of study, you could really leverage that for something really interesting. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. And if you have a fascination with ghosts and aliens, you probably have a fascination with mysterious crimes, unsolved mysteries, murders, perplexing cults, and all that fall in between. I want you guys to follow the Girls of Cults, Crimes, and Cabernet. Their weekly podcast covers the horrible happenings that occur across the nation. Melissa and Whitney provide an insightful yet eye-opening approach to these crimes. Their laid-back conversation style makes you feel like you're hanging out, having a glass of wine with your closest friends. They cover new cases every Monday. So remember that every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. It's hard to say. You can find the link to Cults, Crimes, and Cabernet on our website at chasingprophecyradio.com. You can click the link. There's a whole bunch of it. Remember, they're wonderful crime-solving podcast. Cults, Crimes, and Cabernet Mondays. Okay, guys, so going back to the Sky Hub and the satellite, the Black Knight, and we have SETI. Now with Space Force, okay, Chris, and it seems like they're not doing really well. It seems like all their rockets are exploding before they even take off. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I saw that today.
It's kind of crazy.
Yep.
So, and with the Pentagon releasing all that, UFOs that they found, like the military found, like there is something going on because you can actually feel it. So do you think we're going to make contact in the next decade or so or less?
I am completely out of the, I am so bad at predictions. I am so bad at them. I don't want to make any kind of predictions like that. I guess what I will say is,
well, you believe that okay, set aside Sean. We know Jason. I think pretty much our other co-host. I think he believes in extraterrestrials or something's out there, alien or not. Well, so we know Sean doesn't really feel for it yet, but Chris, definitely believe there's something of intelligent life out there.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yep.
It's just a matter of I know we had a couple of guests on the show before that don't actually believe that they actually came here.
Sure.
Do you believe in the ancient alien
I
phenomena? No.
I don't believe in ancient aliens. My view essentially is very similar to SETI's view, really, which is that well, it's a little bit different than SETI's view, I guess, ultimately. And SETI is not like kind of one, they have a bunch of different views overall. But my view essentially is there's definitely intelligent life out there. I don't know if they've come and visit us or not, or if they've been here. However, I think that the amount of people making claims is worth investigating. That's what I'll say, right? So that's my view.
No,
and I agree.
Okay,
Yep.
now what would you say if I told you that because you said that not too many people believe that they have actually contacted one. What if I told you I did?
Well, I would be interested to hear your story, right? I mean, that's the thing is,
I would be interested too.
Yeah, I think the problem with a lot of this is especially, so my background in this really is from the standpoint of trying to understand why do people believe the things they believe, first and foremost. And then also, why is it that there is such bad communication between the scientific community and the public and vice versa, right? I think it's really easy for people to think of these kinds of stories and just think that they're wacky or crazy.
Yeah.
When you talk to people who've had these experiences,
they don't believe that they believe that they believe that they. I believe that they believe that they saw something.
But no, that's what you just said. That's the same way in my field. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know. The science, they don't want to hear nothing from us. You know what I mean? Everything is just, and I'm like, okay. But you know what? I have a little saying. It said, I will respect what you believe. Please respect what I believe.
Exactly.
And
that's the part of it that I think is really a shame because, again, the people who are making these claims aren't, maybe 1 out of 1,000 people are making up an abduction claim because they want attention or something, right? But that's not common in my experience, right? Most people are having a very common experience somehow, and we don't know what the source of it is. But if it's not, imagine if every ghost sighting wasn't actually someone who saw a ghost, it was something happening in everyone's brains. That's almost more scary.
Cool.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
It's almost stranger, right? And so to just say that this is all like, oh, it's just a big, it's just something people make up or whatever, that's lazy. Right?
Yeah.
There's something happening here. I don't know what the reality of it is, but it's worth investigating because, again, 10,000 reports a year to MUFON just from North America.
Yeah, that's a lot.
This is happening to a lot of people. So if it is something psychological or if it is something whatever, that's still of interest.
It reminds me of the Close Encounters of the Third Kind that you were talking about, like how those people were all connected. They all saw the same thing.
Sure, yeah.
Exactly the same. And that actually makes me want to watch that this weekend. I think I'm going to watch
it. The other thing, too, about all of this is we think today that humans have always thought that their view of science at their time that they're alive is the end of science. It's we know everything we'll ever know. Right? And we've always been wrong.
Yeah, there's just too much stuff to fathom. And speaking of all this, since I have you on the show, that we wanted to get you on for our talk on time travel. Yeah. We were talking last week. We're having what was that? We were talking about the vortex. Was that Sean? Were we talking about we really don't know what a vortex is, or Can you?
It was about the vortex.
Yeah. Do you know anything about the vortex?
The vortex. So, I think I probably do. Okay. So, one of the ways that people think you can travel through time potentially, and this is actually, physically or through physics, this is all okay, although it's a little bit, it's never been seen, and again, who knows if it'll really happen or not or whatever. But anyways, one of the ideas would be that we know that space and time are linked together.
Mm-hmm.
So that the faster you go, the slower time appears to travel for you. So in other words, if you're on a spaceship going at the speed of light, time would travel a lot slower for you than it does for someone on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it, yeah. So one theory or one thought then is that if space and time are linked together in that way, then what if you had points of space where kind of reality seems to touch itself? So in other words, what I mean by that, it sounds weird. What I mean by that is we know that light travels at a constant speed, right? Light has a maximum speed that it travels at constantly. Mm-hmm. So that means that the fastest you could ever get from one point to, say, 1 light year away is a year, because that's how long it takes light to travel there, right? Mm-hmm. But what if there was a way, so you have these 2 points and they're about 1 light year away, so it takes a year to get from this point to this point. What if, though, there was a way for space to curve such that the 2 points were actually just really close to each other, but the way that we had to get there was this long roundabout way? So the example that's often given is a piece of paper.
Okay.
Right? So imagine this end of the paper and this end of the paper are 1 light year apart. Imagine, though, that the paper was actually like this, right? So we have to travel along the outside of the paper because that's the way that we perceive space and time. Mm-hmm. But what if you were actually able to rip a hole through the paper and get from this point to that point?
Oh, wow.
In theory, you would have traveled back in time 1 light year.
Oh, that is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Because you got around having to go that whole distance.
But you went through the whole, okay.
Right, because you went through instead.
Wasn't that like a wormhole then?
It's a wormhole. Yeah. So
hey, there we go.
Yeah. So what people think then, or what people have theorized is, maybe there are spots like this, or maybe you could create with enough energy or enough power or whatever, energy and power are the same thing. But if you had enough energy in one space, maybe you could rip essentially a hole like that through space-time and create a vortex or a wormhole or whatever you want to call it, a tunnel, right? Yes. Yeah. That's one idea. Now, the problem with that is, as far as we know, there is no way to rip through space-time.
No.
And the closest that the only thing we know of that even sort of seems to suggest something like this would be something like, say, a black hole. Right, where you could get really close to the speed of light, and we don't know what happens. At the edge of extreme kind of physics, that's really where these things make sense. But it's a really interesting. It's a really interesting,
very interesting topic. Now, you think like a vortex or wormhole is the same thing as a portal?
I mean, maybe. The problem is there's sort of colloquial. So I guess from the position of, it depends on what you mean by a portal, right?
Well, in Sean's work, he deals with ghosts, like these portals to the other side.
Sure.
If there are portals, wouldn't it be feasible that they're connected? To a portal's connected to a wormhole, and
sure. So kind of the science of I guess ghostly apparitions, or those sorts of things. I suppose maybe the issue, I think, so from my perspective at least, the way that I like to look at like ghosts or really anything having to do with spirituality is, science is a way of looking at the world. It's one way of looking at the world. but science can't answer everything.
Yeah.
Right. There's lots of
True.
stuff science doesn't have the answers for. And really, a really simple example of it is something like, say, this sounds like Bill and Ted, like, man, oh my God, what are colors? But color is a really good example of this, right?
Yeah, colors.
If you think about so I have, I'm playing as we're talking with a little piece of Lego brick.
Yeah, like colors.
So I do, right? So your color of life behind you, right? But so this object is blue. It's like a blue-green, right?
Right.
But if I in a lab could take this thing apart molecule by molecule, are all of the molecules blue? Or where did the blueness come from?
Oh, you're talking scientific stuff here.
Well, wait, really,
Oh,
right?
wow. No. Keep going, brother. Keep going. This is interesting.
Right.
Keep
Where
going.
did the blueness come from? The blue color of this appears to be an emergent property, a property that happens. So in other words, the blueness of this object appears to be more than is possible based on just the parts of the object. It would be like me putting, this thing and this thing together and it becoming pink.
Yeah.
Right? So it appears that there are properties that are what we could call non-irreducible. So, reducibility means, right, there's this idea we all have that we are, if we had a good enough computer, we could model everything in the universe because we could measure the movement of every single molecule, every atom, every, quanta, right?
Wow.
But it turns out that that's probably not true, right? Because something as simple as color, that color doesn't really seem to be affected by or matter based on the objects themselves, or rather the parts themselves, right? The individual parts of this are not blue. Blue happens when they come together and interact with light. So it's more of an issue with the grouping of things. So in my mind, ghosts or spirits or whatever, that might simply just be something that is non-physical that science can't answer. Science has no place
they
to
can't.
talk about, right?
No,
and so to me, the idea of to me, then it's illogical, literally illogical, to think about what kind of science would explain a ghostly sighting or something. I don't think science could. I think science is at its limit there. I just all we can do is have personal experiences with those kinds of things. Or, that's my view at least.
Chris,
I like that view.
Yeah, it's a great view. So you have a podcast called The Mad Scientist, and do you do experiments, or is that what you do?
So on our show, the Mad Scientist podcast, actually, we talk through a lot of the stuff we've talked about here today in the same kind of way, right? The history and philosophy of scientific concepts, both from, you can imagine things like the history. We did a series on, say, the history of surgery, where we talked about all the ethical ideas and how surgery developed and everything else. And then we've done series on, UFOs or can science talk about things like consciousness or ghosts or psychic abilities? So we really try to take a serious academic, I guess, look at these topics while still being funny. So my co-host and I try to be funny with these stories and ideas. But really for us, it's the most important thing is trying to get into this topic or these topics in a serious way. So that's really what we do.
We'll definitely have to check it out and have you back on the show. We'd be more than happy to have you back on the show, but we're going to have to say goodnight pretty soon. So make sure you check out Chris's podcast. Good to have you. How are we for time, Sean? Is it time?
A couple minutes. We're at 7:53.
Okay. So what time does he want us off today?
I don't know.
I thought it was 7:54. But anyways, it was great to have you on the show. Next week we have a really cool show. It is on, what is next week's? It is, come on, Sean, you have to help me out here. What is next week's show on? Come on, is it Gettysburg yet?
Yes, Gettysburg. Did
we're
you
going to
have
have Mark
that author?
Nesbitt
Yep.
on the show next week, which would be fun. I can't wait to do
Yep.
that. And Jason is going out to Gettysburg. They're going to do an investigation, which should be exciting. I can't wait for that. I can't wait to hear what he has to say. Make sure you check out our YouTube channel on our Pittsburgh Paranormal Society Facebook page and Pittsburgh Paranormal Chasing Prophecy Facebook page. And I want to make sure you guys definitely check out Audible. Check it out at www.audibletrial.com, Chasing Prophecy Radio. And please check out my author page, J. E. Nicasio. And I also have a YouTube channel. Make sure you check out my books. And I do believe we're almost off. What do you think, Sean? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. We're getting there.
Okay, I don't want to go over. Yeah, Chris, I don't want to go over, but he's supposed to give us a little heads up because we're always going over and the other guests get kind of irritated at us.
Chris, thank you very much. I enjoyed our conversation.
Yes.
Oh, it was a pleasure. I would love to come back on anytime. Let me know.
Definitely. I want you to come back on it because it was hard to get you last time. It was very hard to get you.
It was so hard, but it finally worked out. It was great.
I know. You're so busy all the time. It's like I even went on LinkedIn to try to get you. I went on LinkedIn.
Oh, wow.
I was like, okay, well, how am I going to get this man?
A hard man to pin down. What can I say?
Yeah, you're a hard man to track down. Yeah, it was really hard to get a hold of you. And I mean, I went back as far as when Jan Henson, his little scandal with MoveLot.
It was a while. I'm telling you. Yeah, no. Listen, let me know. It'll be easier next time, I'm sure. I hope. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully.
It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
All right, I'll jump off here then. Thank you so much.
Okay,
both of you.
Thank you.
All right, Chris, have a good one.
You too. Bye.
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 Okay.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
I wish we had a better knowledge of the time we were supposed to get off because
me too.
I mean, I don't care. I'll keep talking. I don't mind. So did you have an investigation last week?
No. I got one tomorrow by myself.
Oh,
that's the one up in Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant. Oh, that's right, near me. You're going by yourself. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would definitely come with you, but it's my birthday weekend.
Yeah,
thank you. I have a lot to do with my family, so I'm excited. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
What are you going to do? What's your plans for your birthday?
Well, we were going to go out and I can't make my decision. I am terrible about making decisions. My sons, I embarrass them all the time in the restaurant because I'm always the last one to figure out what am I going to have? Mom, hurry up. Mom, they must have texted me about 15 times. Mom, did you make your decision? Because we have to make reservations. And to tell you the truth, I tried to tell them it doesn't matter as long as I'm with them. I don't care. And then they won't understand that until they have kids of their own. And it's nice to have grown-up kids. I mean, it's nice to have them. So we decided on Pittsburgh barbecue that we're going to get it and have it sent to them. My kids are going to go out and get it, bring it back. I said, can we watch a movie? So we're going to watch a movie and sit with Mom. And then they told me, Mom, can you give us a haircut? It's like, I used to be a hairdresser.
Right.
And I said, what do you mean? On my birthday weekend? No, my birthday is actually Tuesday, but I celebrate it the whole week. And I do intermittent fasting and keto. So I went to the candy store because I'm making this really cool desserts with caffeinated coffee beans and cream cheese. Wow. I went into the candy store and she goes, oh, would you like a snack? Would you like to try one? And I almost stuck it in my mouth. And I was so, no, don't do it. Don't do it. So it's really hard because I end up splurging. I got chocolate covered pretzels and I put them in my snack drawer and I have not touched them.
Good job.
I have not. So I gave up. I gave up a lot for Lent. And I also do the fasting every day till 3:00. And I gave up my favorite keto food. It's bacon.
Bacon? Oh man,
it's so hard. I miss bacon. I really miss it. I really miss.
Have you seen the new sausage bacon out?
No.
Jimmy Dean.
No.
It's called sausage bacon. It's sausage, but it's cut like bacon.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's great. That's crazy.
It's freaking good. It's freaking good.
I would love it. This is what screws me up. Okay, talking about time travel. My computer says 7:59. My
Right.
StreamYard says live at 49.39. So I don't know what we definitely have to figure this out with our Joe, the producer, the owner of the station, because
Right.
this is too confusing for me. I mean, it's bad enough I have dyslexia, and I do, and I tell my family that all the time.
Yeah.
They always make fun of me. No, you don't, Mom. I have a problem with numbers.
Oh,
I have
okay.
numbers too. Everything's backwards. It's so funny. I'll say a whole sentence backwards.
Oh, really?
Because I'm an
Wow.
author.
Ah, yes.
Writing my my editor's like, Jenny, do you know you wrote the whole sentence backwards? Yeah, it's
Oh, wow.
terrible. Yeah, so I'm really after I get done with her, I'm working on a screenplay and I cannot
Oh, really?
wait. This script is so cool. I've been into it. I'm all done. I have one scene to go and I'm going to send it to my agents and we're going to hopefully sell that baby. But I just love
on Netflix. Would it be on Netflix or what?
Well, my From the Skies, what they were supposed to be working out a deal with Netflix. It's been optioned. From the Sky, the series been optioned for a movie or series. I was hoping on a movie, but then I thought, well, no, a series would be really cool because it keeps going and going and going.
Right.
So,
and they give you more ideas to write more episodes. And
yeah,
more stories,
I got screwed because I signed the paperwork like when COVID, like right before COVID. So that whole year was a total waste. Wow. So I'm hoping, they said they're going to be opening up Hollywood soon. So hopefully I'll get a buyer and
I hope so too.
That would be so cool. That would be so,
yeah, it would.
I'm going to be working on
I know her.
Yeah. I'm going to be working on with paranormal investigators. We'll have to do one based on your group.
Oh, that would be awesome.
It would be. I just got to think of a good. You have to come up with a really good spooky haunting, so it makes it enticing. And I hope Jason's okay.
I guess he's okay. Why don't you just come along with us and just sit down and look at the monitors? You don't have to investigate.
I did that with you at the Irwin Moose, and that was pretty cool. And
I mean, that was fun.
See, the problem with me is I attract ghosts. They will piggyback me, and I'll come home and I'll bring it here. And not only will I have closet doors opening, I'll have monsters roaming. What
happened the other night?
Oh, not the battery got drained. I couldn't even. Really? I got a new one. I got a nanny cam that kind of plugged in. Both of the times I set a trail cam out to catch because I got some pictures, and as soon as I put it out and it was on, and the battery was draining. It kept on draining. So that's when I said I'm not going to do the battery. I'm going to go right to the plug-in so it won't drain. Right. So we'll catch something. Only thing is, I don't know how to do it.
Does your son know how to do it?
I'm trying to get him to do that for me. Maybe this weekend, one of them will set it up for me. I had to set up the lights, my lights. I got those really cool. It's called Govee lights. They're really cool.
I see that.
I don't have enough though. I want to put some more in because I really like them. So you have to do it a certain way. You can't do it straight on, which I screwed up and did that. You have to actually have it like it's sitting down so it shows up on the ceiling. And I'm gonna do that. Good on you. Cool. This is because I don't have my green screen anymore. I miss it. I miss my green screen. So this will work. And
I like that.
See my art pictures from that? You can't really see them. I painted it. Yeah. I lit them up. I put lights around them. A little bit. But we're running. Now we're at 53 minutes. Well, I'm really glad that next time we'll tell Joe to tell us what time to get off. This is a whole new format. Now, this is a new format that we're using. And it goes, like Joe said, it goes all over the place. It's not just SoundCloud, it's everywhere. So hopefully we'll get a lot more listeners.
I like it. I honest to God like this better than Skype, to be honest.
Yeah, I like it too. There's no problem with Skype. And I think I like it a lot. We're used to using it from our Friday Night Live. So it shouldn't be I love how he did the background with United Public Radio. It's really cool.
Yes.
So we got next week we have Gettysburg. I'm really excited about Gettysburg. I really am. And Mark is a really good tour. He has a really good tour. And did
you read any of his books yet?
I'm gonna try to get one this week. I'm gonna get it on. Hopefully, it's on Kindle, so I know what I'm talking about.
The Ghost of Gettysburg. What you might want to do if you can, the best story that he has written for me is the Gettysburg College one. And a little background about that one was there were two ladies that worked at Gettysburg College, and they got into the elevator and they hit the down button, I think it was. And when that doors opened up, there was a surgeon from the Civil War with nurses telling them to come on in and help them fix these patients up, the soldiers.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk.
Jenny Wade House.
Yeah, the Jenny Wade House. My son went there and he took pictures. And there's a story with the I think Joe's on it. I think he's telling us.
Yeah, Joe's on.
Okay. Well, Joe, it's time for us to go. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you for tuning into Chasing Prophecy Radio.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Make sure you check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Good night, everyone.
Good night.